My name's Jordan Young. I'm a track and field thrower from Canada. For over a decade, I've been working to understand every aspect of throwing. I'm an athlete, which means the only way to be great is through raw hard work and determination. This is my story. I'm going to be taking on one of athletics' biggest challenges, the Olympic Games. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another season of JY Throws. I am very happy to be back, and I've got some big plans for this year. My goal this year is to make the most detailed training guide possible, showing and explaining everything that I do. I'm currently training at the University of Virginia with my coach Martin Madic, who's a two-time Olympian from Croatia. But how did I get here? I want to quickly take you guys back to my favorite meet from high school, and this was actually the first time that I really got to see the value of hard work. At this same meet 1 year before this, I threw 50 meters with the discus, and after a year of hard work with my coach at the time, Jason Tunks, who was a three-time Olympian for Canada, I came back the next year and threw over 70 meters. And all of a sudden, all of the hard work that I've been through all year was worth it. So I continued to throw. Fast forward a couple years and I earned myself a scholarship to the University of Arizona, where I spent 2 years before I transferred to the University of Virginia, where I graduated as a 10-time All-American with one of the best throwing teams in history. After college, I applied for a visa that allowed me to stay in America to train with Martin, and that brings us to today. As of now, I have 9 months left to get in the best shape of my life. I need to throw 21 meters in shot put and or 66 meters in discus to earn myself an automatic spot on Canada's Olympic team. With a personal best of 20.06 meters in shot put and 62.76 meters in discus, I'll need to do everything I can to earn my spot. The way I see it, there's 4 categories that I need to focus on improving if I want to have a shot at making the Olympics. The first category is injuries. I need to make sure I fix and then maintain any injuries and avoid getting any other ones. The second category I need to focus on improving is my throwing technique. As I continue to throw and my technique progresses, I'll become more efficient in the circle, maximizing everything I can out of my body. The third category I need to focus on improving is strength. The stronger you are, the easier it is to accelerate an implement, and the faster an implement's going, the further it's gonna go. And the fourth category I need to focus on is my health. And this includes everything from going to see a chiropractor, physical therapist, nutrition, getting good sleep. And at the end of this season, I know I'm not guaranteed to go to the Olympics, but I do know that the only way that I can possibly get there is if I work as hard as possible and continue to work on these 4 categories in everything that I do. So I want to start this season off by quickly talking about injuries. To make a very long story short, I've had a bad back for the past 10 years of my life, and it got so bad at one point in college that I had to get surgery, causing me to miss a whole year of throwing. And this is one of the biggest things that can hold me back. Over the years, I've met with dozens of different physical therapists and chiropractors and massage therapists, and all of them had said pretty much the same thing. Until this past summer, I was in Croatia, and I met with a physical therapist, and rather than him telling me to strengthen my core like every other person, he said, forget about that right now, we need to strengthen your back and legs and hips, and he gave me 40 minutes a day of stairs to do. Another stair session down. It's been about 3 or so weeks of doing this, and my legs are feeling so much stronger already. The 40 minutes doesn't feel nearly as long as it did when I first started, so super happy that things are progressing. Just gonna keep grinding it out and keep getting it. And after over a month of doing this, my legs and back are feeling better than they have in years. And this is definitely something that I'm going to continue to do. And hopefully by strengthening my back doing this, I can avoid another setback and I can have the most productive, best 9 months possible. The second injury that I have to deal with right now is my shoulder. This is something that's much newer. It's just been causing a lot of problems and been making it hard for me to hold the discus up as high as I need to. And it was so bad a couple weeks ago that I couldn't even hold the shot put in my arm and try to throw it at all. So I met with a physical therapist that I like here in Charlottesville, and he's been giving me some great exercises to help strengthen my shoulder in a bunch of different places.
So I'm gonna chat with Vincent. We're gonna work through a little bit of that serratus. We're gonna work through a pec minor stretch for you, and then we'll work through a lower trap strengthener as well. Just that consistency is going to be really, really helpful.
And after only a couple weeks of doing the exercises that he gave me, I've seen incredible improvement in my shoulder. And I'm at the point that now I can start to do some slams into the ground with shot put. So hopefully I can get back into throwing shot put as quickly as possible. All right, guys, we're finally at the point where I get to throw some things, and I know it's been a really talky episode, but I just had to get through all that stuff. And this year I've been starting with my emphasis on discus, and I'm really trying to rework my technique, going back to some of the most fundamental parts of the throw, which will hopefully translate into more efficient technical throws later on in the year once I really get going with fulls. The first thing I want to quickly talk about is how I hold the discus. How I line up my hand is I'll take my index finger and I kind of run it along the center of the discus, and that's where I end up putting my index finger. I know some people like it over a little bit more, but usually it's within around a little inch gap on the rim that you're going to find the comfortable spot out of your hand. I just wanted to quickly mention that when holding the discus, it's just resting on the tips of your fingers. You're not wrapping your knuckles over it like this. So it's just resting at the end, and that way it can rotate out of your hand nicely. You can start to test this out by rolling the discus on the ground, and if you get a nice smooth release and you're not doing anything weird with your wrist or trying to flick the discus or something weird, it's just kind of rolling nicely off of your index finger and along the ground. If you do that nice, it'll travel nice and straight, and if you miss it or do something weird with your hand, you'll see it kind of wobble out of your hand and oftentimes will take a nice turn right away. Next, I want to introduce you guys to the ideal discus thrower. This is a clay pigeon thrower to practice shooting, and it displays a lot of similar mechanics that a discus thrower is trying to achieve, but because it's made out of metal with heavy springs, it's much more consistent and ideal, and that's what you're trying to do with your body when you're throwing. You want to make sure that you're maintaining a nice rotational axis, and you want your arm to be as long and as straight as possible with the discus at the very tips of your fingers, and that's going to increase your radius, which increases the speed, which will help the discus go further. Because the discus thrower is similar to the clay pigeon thrower, you're going to want to make sure that you're setting up a nice axis in the middle, and that needs to be super stable so that everything can stay nice and long and rotate around that center axis. So if you're here, the discus is working around that axis. And something to be cautious of is that you don't pull off of it, and that often happens with the off arm pulling off. So on your throw, you pull off and now you're off of that axis, so you're not a nice solid stable clay pigeon thrower. Another common issue is leaving the discus too far behind. If you're throwing and you get to the finish, you should be there, but if the discus is too far behind, you're not going to be able to finish it, so you're going to need to continue to pull off to get the discus around to the middle, or it's going to come out early and then it's going to go into the cage. So those are two things to look out for. You're just trying to make sure you're keeping a nice axis, not pulling too hard with your off arm, and not letting the discus get too far behind. Everything's just kind of coming through as one unit, and everything works together. So what I've been working on with Martin is trying to find efficient weight transfer, and this is an example of him demonstrating to me what he wanted me to do.
It's a drill, it's not a stand throw from distance, right?
Yeah.
It's a drill that you want to get fixed. Yeah.
There's a couple things that I take away from Martin showing me this, and I wanted to explain them quickly to you guys. The first thing I want you to pay attention to is what we're working on, and that's the center of mass transfer. As he winds back, you can see a center of mass is right here, and after he finishes the discus, he's all the way forward over his block leg with his center of mass completely shifted. And there's a couple key things that go into making this a smooth transition. The first thing he's doing great is as soon as he starts moving, he's establishing a nice block, and then he can rotate the rest of his body into that block. And the other thing he's doing is keeping the discus on a nice rotational orbit. And all of those things together make a nice, smooth, efficient transfer of weight in a stand throw. So over the past week or so, that's what I've been really working on with Martin. And that's why I have a bunch of stand throw footage and constant outfit changes of me talking about it in this episode. And this is something that I want to continue to really focus on all year. Locking a nice, efficient stand throw into my muscle memory through lots of repetition is going to be a big help into getting a really efficient full throw. So over the next few weeks, you'll likely be seeing quite a few more stand throws as I try to find the most efficient stand throw technique possible. After reviewing all this footage, there's a couple things that I wanted to point out that I noticed technically that I want to improve in the next episode. So first I want to refer back to Martin's video. If you pay attention to his block leg as he winds back, you can see that he doesn't pick his heel up very high from the ground, and that allows him to get it down right away and establish a block. And in all my favorite throws, that's what I was doing. I wasn't letting the heel get as high, so I got the block earlier, and then I was able to rotate into it better. But on a lot of throws, I was letting myself pick that heel up too high, and then it takes so long to get it back down to the ground that the discus is already about finished. So from here on out, I really want to focus on that. Anyway, guys, I'm going to wrap up the first video here. Thank you very much for watching. I am so excited for what's coming this year, and I can't wait to get into all the throwing and lifting and everything that's going to be going on. So if you guys enjoyed the video, leave a like, and if you really enjoyed it, subscribe for more. This is just the very beginning, and I can't wait to see what I can do this year. See you guys in the next one.